Coming up next on the show is World Supersport 300 rider for 2020 and 2021. It's going to be now for the Scuderia Maranga Racing Team. Indy offer. Indy, you're looking like you're in somewhere a little bit Mediterranean now.
Yeah, I can't complain at all. I'm in sunny Spain. I'm in Valencia.
Oh, what are you doing out there?
I'm just trying to get as much training in as possible, to be honest, because of course this year hasn't been the best for trying to train. So as much training as I can do, might as well.
I'm sure you're at Ribera, of course, because that's open up again now, isn't it?
Yeah. No, Ribera's perfect. We've got a garage there, so yeah. No, it was good. I was riding with Lorenzo Fallon. He's just joined Moto3 this year, so yeah, no, it was perfect.
Oh, awesome! And for those who don't know who you are, just talk us through how you got started in sports, and how you got to where you are, and where you are now.
So it's not a very long story.
Sure.
I started in the end of 2017. My dad used to do a bit of club racing, and he said, "Do you want to give it a go?" So it was pretty much bought a little Ninja 300 and gave it a go. And then the next year, I found myself in BSB, and it was an interesting year. It wasn't so bad. I think the best position finish was 11th. So it wasn't awful. It was a good first year. And then the next year we bought a 400 because they seemed to be a little bit faster. And it was a difficult year with the 400 in terms of we had a bent bike for a lot of the rounds. I'm still confused why. No one really understood why, but it was one of those things. It's racing. It's how it goes. And so we finished that season with the best result, 6th. And thought, why not? I had the opportunity to go to Worlds. It turned out to be the youngest Brit to go to Worlds, so it was just a decision that we made. And yeah, this year has been my first year in World Superbikes. So
you've only actually been racing for 3 years, and you're already out at World Championship competing with the best.
Yeah, so this year was the end of my 3rd year. It was a strange year, but yeah, 3 years riding.
No, that's right. And you touched on that you had a bent bike at, you say, some of the rounds. How many rounds was that?
The bike worked at the start of the year at Silverstone, and then we got into a small crash. I got hit from behind, and we think that's where our problems stemmed from. And then we couldn't really figure out why it was all going wrong, so we're pretty sure we had a bent bike from there on out. But then we got it fixed at Thruxton for some reason. It just magically all went together, and then ever since then it just didn't work. So about 80% of that year was just bent bike. So
well, moving on from that, I mean, you've moved up now into a Supersport 300 class. I mean, how's it been?
It has been tough. Weirdly, not as tough as I thought it would be, and I'm not sure why. I started the year with a broken ankle, so I missed the first 3 rounds of the year, which put me on the back foot just a little bit more. But it's been very good. As I say, it's been difficult because the way the world riders and European riders ride compared to us is very different, and changing and adapting to the way they do things is a thing we have to do. But towards the end of the year, it started to get a lot better, and having a team that are just all they want to do is help you and see you progress, and having teammates as well it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. When you say that they ride differently, what's the main differences then?
It's weird. I think it is because of the tracks. They've got Aragon and Jerez, and we've got Alton Park and Cadwell, so they're a little different. Then you can ride different on them circuits.
Sure.
They're just so late on the brakes and so early on the throttle. It's stupid. But as I say, they've got the runoff, and they've got these super wide sweeping corners that you can use that style, and then trying to use a British style of high corner speed and not using so much doesn't work on them tracks. You've got to change completely to how they do it.
No, for sure. And I mean, from my experience as well, because obviously, I mean, I rode in the class a year before you did. I mean, the main difference is just the space you have. I mean, how much track you have to use, you don't realise. And in fact, when when Mika Perez came down to BSB last year, 2019, he did like the last round at Brands. I was riding behind him for a good few laps, and you could see that coming out a lot of corners, he was just running out of road everywhere because he wasn't used to having tracks so narrow. So it works both ways. I mean, you go over there and all of a sudden you've got loads of room, and then they come over here and all of a sudden they've got no room as well.
Yeah, no, completely. Like the curbs are almost the whole length of the straight towards corners. So you've got all this space to use. It's so weird to have that amount of space.
For sure. I mean, I remember Jerez's a great example for it because I'd say you spend sort of 90% of the lap actually on the paint rather than on the tarmac. Completely.
And Aragon as well. All the circuits really, you're just constantly on the curbs. And if you're not on the curbs, then you're losing seconds from your lap. So
for sure. Was it what you expected in your first year at world level?
No, I don't think anyone could really go into it, expecting, getting what they expected from it. But it wasn't. It was a good expectation. It wasn't me being completely blown out of the water. If you know what I mean. Everyone, sure. Of course, everyone came past, and it wasn't an overwhelming. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with them. It was more of they're fast, but how do I get to that speed? If you know what I mean. It's not like you can't do it. It's just how.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and I mean, for those who don't know as well, because obviously it's a very different class as well in many respects. It's a very unique class, and for those who don't know, the qualifying system is very different as well in the way that there's quite a few riders on the grid. I don't know how many on now, but I think it's up to
56 last year. I think it was
56 riders, and then the top 30 compete for spaces on the grid, and then and then you've got a last chance race where the top 6 then go and line up on the last 6 spots on the grid. So it's quite a unique way of doing things. I mean, no other championship is like that. What's it like running in that system?
It's great because just being in the world class as well, you just get so much track time in general. So that's the best bit. But that system in general, it works quite well because you get a race no matter what. But the one thing is if the top riders crash or they're just not getting on in the free practices, you end up racing in the last chance race with them.
Yeah, I can see.
So I remember in Catalonia it was Scott Ogden, Sofoglu, and I think Murples and a few other riders, De La Vega and that, who all finished in top 12 in the championship. So it is a really good concept, but it's difficult as well when then riders do come into it.
For sure. And obviously, I mean, it also means that there's a hell of a lot of bikes out on track. What's it like riding against so many just bikes everywhere?
It's good, but it's completely different. The Europeans are so confident with what they do, and because they ride in such big groups as well, you have to be in that group. They're riding in groups of 16 to 18 constantly. And if you're not in that group of places like Aragon and that, you're losing 2 to 3 seconds. So it's good, but the problem is you've got to be within the same lap times and speed as those riders to be with the group. So it's good, but when you're not at that speed just yet, it does make it a lot harder because you're already losing a second and a half, 2 seconds to slipstream.
What do you say the sort of highlights of your year were? Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, can I just jump in a second? I won't give you both long. Just from visually watching you two guys here talking to one another that have been in that championship and me doing a bit of club racing and then super stock in BSB, I have never seen 2 calmer boys in my life. Race like absolute lunatics in that championship that you two boys have. It's like, these 2 kids are doing that kind of racing that I've seen on the TV.
You got to save it all out for on circuit, though, don't you?
Yeah, no,
anybody that runs in that through the Supersport Championship, you're all maniacs, and you two are just here like, well, we might as well be having a bit of Bob Marley.
Yeah, it's all right.
I've never seen 2 calmer kids, and it's great to see 2 such lads that are so level-headed. And I could talk about racing so coherently and well. I like that.
Yeah.
But then when you get on the racetrack, it's like, right, I'll take my brain out of my head now. I'll put it in this box. My dad's going to look after that forever, and I'll take it back when I come back. No, I respect that.
Completely.
Again, that's all I've got to say. Well done.
No, absolutely. And you've really touched on something, because I mean, obviously, anyone who's watched Moto3 or Supersport 300, stuff like that, it's absolutely manic. And I mean, I don't know how you cope with it. I mean, just tell us what it's been like for you, because obviously, I mean, you've had the experience in junior Supersport, but then doing it out in Worlds is again completely different.
It is still the same feeling of being on the grid and you're still racing. So it's weird, once you're sat on the grid, you've still got the same nerves as BSB, as club racing. It's all still the same. You're still racing to win. It's all everyone wants to do. But I've had my team manager, my mechanic, and all that, and we're just sitting on the grid, and we're not silent, but we're just waiting. If you know what I mean, people are crashing about, changing tyres, doing all this, and we're just sat there chilled out, because to say we've got the next 15, 20, 25 minutes, I've got to concentrate as hard as I possibly can. So it's kind of just relax, and the thing is, you can't have a plan as well, because as soon as you drop the clutch, that your plan has just completely gone out the window. So yeah.
I mean, you can only plan so much, and then by the first corner, 5 of them have gone down, another 5 have gone wide, and what you thought was going to happen is completely already gone out the window. So I completely understand what you mean, and I think it's hard to look at it from the outside, because it just looks like completely crazy manic racing. But from the inside, you've got to be able to pull that off. You've got to be calm and thinking about what you're doing and getting through it. I mean, from the outside, it will just look, and it does feel manic at the same time. Yeah, but it's a sort of a calm aggression, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you've got to have that controlled aggression of when to do things and when to not, because you can instantly end your racing.
And we've seen many chances where people have not.
Yeah, exactly. So you've really got to have that controlled aggression of exactly just when not to do things and when to do things. It's weird.
And it's a class that not a lot of Brits venture into. I mean, it's not very heavily populated in terms of Brits. What made you choose the class?
Well, I'm only in my third year. Well, this is now my third year racing, and I've only ever been on small bikes, and it was just, I could go to stock 600s and try and battle my way through that, but I think that's almost more scary than racing in 300s.
Sure.
For me at the moment. So it was, I got the opportunity, and to be on the world stage is, I think, where everyone wants to be. So I don't see the difference, instead of going from junior Supersport to stock 6s and stock 1000s in Britain to, staying on the same bike for a couple more years, but going to worlds. Scott Derue is 23, Anna Carrasco is 24. They're 8 years older than me, and they're still in the class. So there's no reason not to.
It's kind of the same thing with John McPhee and Moto3, really, and he's stuck with it, really, isn't he?
Yeah, no, exactly. His dream is as everyone's, to be at the top of the World Championship, whether it's Superbikes or GP. So you might as well stick around in Worlds. Your name gets mentioned a bit more because it's a World Championship. So I think it's definitely the place to be if you're for anyone, really.
Sure, and you've signed another year now with Scuderia Maranga Racing. What are your goals then for 2021? Because obviously you've had that year now. You know what it's like going into next year.
Everyone said to me before I started, as soon as you get this year over, it doesn't get easier. But if you can get through the first year, the second year does get easier. So, and of course, this year's been a bit all upside down.
It's been COVID. A weird year as well.
Yeah. COVID, and I broke my ankle at the start of the year, so I was completely on the back foot and changing everything about my riding. So for next year, I think the system in World Supersport 300 is changing again.
Okay.
So I don't think we're going to be having the last chance race.
Okay.
I say that it's just a rumour at the moment, but I think that's the way it's going to go. But for next year, it's just to keep progressing on what we're doing and just hopefully try and get a few points if there's not going to be a last chance race system. But if there is, to be battling in that top 6, top 8 for the main race. But it started to click at the end of the season, and you just see some riders, and as soon as it clicks, they're just away. So all I can do is fingers crossed. So,
and did you have a long-term plan as well?
Well, the long-term plan is to be a world champion.
Of course.
And I think it's the same for everyone, is just to be a champion in what they do. So for me, it's to stick around in worlds for as long as I possibly can. But I think definitely now that I've been in the European environment, to stay, whether it's RFME, CV, anything like that, just to stay in the European environment, because now I'm on these tracks. Going back to Alton Park and Cadwell is going to be a bit interesting.
Yeah, I did the same thing when I moved up, and then I came back to BSB tracks, and it was like learning all over again.
Yeah.
But is the goal, is World Supersport a goal at all?
Well, of course. But it's such a big jump from the 300s to Supersport 600s at the moment, because we've only got 52, 53, 54 horsepower, and they're now pushing 100, 130. I'm not sure what.
Supersport will be pushing more,
yeah. So, and we saw Hendra and Andy Bedoya this year, and it was a slow start to the season, but that's the thing. It just takes time, like everything. So, of course, it is the way to move up, Supersport and then Superbike, but whatever way that happens, and yeah. And
that just stresses as well. I mean, how well Manuel Gonzalez has done moving up from. I know he had a very intense winter where he was basically on a 600 every day, but it's still extremely impressive. It's
to jump from the 300s to the 600 Supersport class and do that well. I think his best finish was a P6 or a P8. I personally, I'm not sure how he's done it in just that small winter training, and especially with COVID as well. I'm not sure how he's got it in. He's unbelievable. That now should open a door for, because I remember, being in the paddock, the attitude was very much that, you can't go from World 300s to World 600s. The jump is too big. I spoke to a few team managers, and that's what they said. But now, having seen what he's done, that could now open a door for World Supersport 300 riders to come up through into World Supersport. Yeah, completely. I think it is. The 300 riders do need to be just given a bit more of a chance. I think if you're at the top of the level in the 300s, then you definitely can make that step. But I think you just need someone to believe in the confidence to do it. Now Manuel's shown that he can do it. I think everyone's got that little confidence boost that they can.
Did we not have Jack Miller doing this years ago between Moto3 and MotoGP? Any man that's saying that as a team boss either doesn't have the belief in you so he can kiss your swingers, or you don't have the money to take to his team. No, after there's when Johnny, for instance, when Johnny Ray was in Supersport 600 in the British, and he busted his leg quite badly at Knockhill. Neil Tuxworth got hold of him. He said, "Listen, we're going to get you fit. You're not going to ride a 600 anymore. We're going to take you straight to Superbike." There are riders that suit a certain style of motorcycle, no matter what age they are. And Johnny Ray was proven. Neil Tuxworth was proven right by seeing what Johnny Ray had in him. He was not a Supersport rider. He was a Superbike rider. And I know that he went to World Superbikes in Supersport for the first year, but that's just because there wasn't the ride available for him. And Ten Carty said, "You do a year with this." I think it's the last 3 rounds when he took over from Sofawaglu, where they swapped roles, didn't they? If you remember. Yeah. So, if you're the right kind of rider with the right kind of style, it doesn't matter if you go from Moto3 straight to MotoGP or 300s to Supersport or Superbike. There's certain riders that just have that thing that can be shown every now and again.
For sure. And there's always going to be, most of the time there's someone who can spot that as well, can spot that someone's style is good enough to move to a specific class. Like they were saying with Brad Binder a lot when we were watching him on Moto2, a lot of people were saying he'd be good on a MotoGP bike, and he's come through and proved it.
Yeah, no, completely. And the same with Remy Gardner. All he kept saying was, as soon as he gets on the big bike, and now he's had the years of the big bike, he's doing better and better. And
what you say, do you think about Remy turning down the KTM ride last year? Because if you remember, he had an offer to ride it, didn't For next year, weren't it, before Petrucci signed? I bet he's wounded about that now. I bet he's wounded.
Yeah. Admittedly, the KTM's last year, it wasn't the bike to be on. But now you've seen him this year, I think he's kicking himself a little bit. But he is in the KTM Academy now, if you like, in the Moto 2. So.
See, I thought, in fact, you're actually right there. I thought that with Petrucci signing for KTM next year in the Tech 3 team, and the way that Dovy's not kind of spoken up too much about 2022, I thought, I know what's happened here. KTM have tried to buy Petrucci out the contract that he's already signed to get Dovey on that bike for next season. And because they haven't done it in 2022, Dovey's just sat there going, I'll go and race Italian motocross for season, come back and take Petrucci's ride for 2022. But you're right, yeah. If Remy proves it, sorry, I've got 3 clowns in my front room now barking on. If Remy proves himself next year, then you could find that if what I'm saying is Dovey was going to get that ride, then Remy could be the one that's going to get the ride in 2022, and it might not be the worst thing he's ever done.
Yeah, completely. I think he was linked with the Aprilia ride, and I think he was linked with another ride. I can't remember where
you were linked with the Aprilia ride last week. We all were. I'm not rode for 3 years. Tristan died. Tristan was going to dye his hair and everything to come to the Aprilia ride. He was on it.
That's the idea. That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
Well, Tristan, if you go full reg, you might as well, mate.
Yeah, no, might as well. Sat there edging his bets, going, "I'll go Ducati or which one?"
I think I can shave some sponsorship into it as well. But no, going back to Indy then. Do you think, mate, you'll come back to BSB at any point? Is that something that's in your mind?
I'd never say never, because it is such a high level championship.
Sure.
But at this moment in time, I would like to spend the next couple of years in Worlds and on the European circuits. You know, I've spent the first year on the European circuit, so it will almost be a bit silly to go back and reverse all of that now. So, but you know, anything can happen, and so I say I'm not going to say no. But as long as I can stay in Worlds or European Championships, I'm going to try.
No, that's sweet. That's awesome. Well, we'll be continuing to follow you in your journey out in World Championships, and I don't blame you for not coming back and playing in the rain with us. But,
Jerez is a little bit better than Not Kill. So.
No, absolutely so. But thanks a lot for talking to us, Indy. It's been brilliant to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll have you back on at some point.
You know, I say thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, superstar, and incredible to still think that it's only a couple of years, 3 years you said, Indy, that you...
Yeah, it's the end of the 3rd year now, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
So...
I mean, this show is older than your racing career, it seems. And we've only been doing it a few years, and for you to be doing it at that level, super. All credit to you.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, you're more than welcome to come back on the show and tell us about your. I don't know. Maybe we'll catch up with you mid-season. Tell us about your successes in 21, maybe.
Perfect. Hopefully, yeah.
Fantastic stuff. Thank you very much, Indy Offer, to come on the Superbike show.